Hello, this is Jane Stavum, Superintendent of the Sioux Falls School District, and this is our podcast. Join us for an audible look inside the Sioux Falls School District, where we'll put a spotlight on the people, places, and practices of our district. Hello, everybody. This is Jane Stavum, and welcome back to our podcast. Today, we're going to do things a little bit differently, and instead of having a guest here with us live, we are actually going to pitch it over to a recent conversation that the South Dakota Public Broadcasting team had with our teachers as part of a series they're doing on Teacher Talks. It's educators talking about public education with a lot of different themes over the next few weeks. We want to make sure that you're part of that, so take a listen.
You're listening to In the Moment on SDPB. I'm Kara Hetland in for Lori Walsh. Today we're going to look within South Dakota's borders to find solutions to the teacher shortage. To be more specific, we're going to dive into Grow Your Own teacher initiatives. Gina Benz is a teacher at Roosevelt High School in Sioux Falls and is a recipient of the Milken Educator Award. Jackie Wilber is director of the Center for Student and Professional Services in the School of Education at the University of South Dakota. Here's our Teacher Talk conversation that we shared yesterday. We're talking today about Grow Your Own initiatives. And Jackie, you're the one that wrote this week's blog post, so I'll have you start first. And just kind of talk about, this all came about because you attended Educators Rising South Dakota event in Aberdeen last week. So let's talk a little bit about that experience and your thought process.
Yeah, well, Grow Your Own initiatives are part of the work that I do at the University of South Dakota. They take on a lot of different forms depending on the school district, and it's a nationwide thing where different school districts are trying to help figure out how we can inspire young people to go into the teaching profession. And Educators Rising is a national organization, and South Dakota has very robust chapters. And I did get to go to the state conference, which was in Aberdeen last week, and it was a very fun time. And so I just came away feeling excited about the future educators that are coming from our K through 12 school districts and wanted to talk more about these initiatives and how successful they seem to be.
And so Educators Rising is one of several, and it kind of, so there's no one way to grow your own. But should there be all united, or should it all be different?
Yeah, you're right. It is not all united. I wrote in the blog and I cited an Education Weekly article called "What Does It Mean to Grow Your Own Teachers? It Depends." And I thought that was an appropriately named article because it really does depend on the state, on the school district, on their partner universities. And some folks would say that there does need to be some national guidelines of what it means to grow your own. And whereas others would advocate that keeping things local and targeted at the populations that are in the specific states are the way to go. My work is primarily in partnership with high schools and some middle schools who are interested in cultivating an interest in inspiring young people to become teachers. So Educators Rising is kind of like an after-school club. Those folks get to meet with their teacher leader at their school and then attend things like the state conference. There's also what's called learning expos that happen at the colleges and universities throughout South Dakota that the students can attend. And then they can even go on to go to the national conference. So that's kind of how that one functions. And then Gina Benz has been instrumental, in starting the Teacher Pathway Grow Your Own initiative in the Sioux Falls School District.
And so, full disclosure, I had a child in Gina's class at Roosevelt. So I'll just say that I have, from a parent's perspective, an outlook on this as well. So, but why did you choose to create your own instead of following with Educators Rising?
Yeah, because Educators Rising has been in existence longer than our Teacher Pathway program we have in the Sioux Falls School District. So that's a really valid question. We did our own because we had certain goals and certain needs that our school district wanted to meet. And so we wrote our own curriculum, wrote our own program in order to meet those goals. Educators Rising is a very it's a set program nationally. They have certain standards that you will follow, and They are great, especially for our rural communities in South Dakota where you can't put together a whole class about teaching. The after-school element is really important. But we are able to put together full classes. Next year I'll have 60 students from Roosevelt taking Teacher Pathway. And so every day we talk about teaching, and they even get college credit from USD.
So there's a difference between a club, and I think Jackie, you mentioned Jackie Hendry's South Dakota Focus,
Yeah.
and one student that was featured in that program won a state or national, I can't remember which, in writing a lesson plan, and so.
Yes.
So that's a competition. You don't really do the competition. Sorry, I'm pointing at Gina now.
Yeah.
But you don't do that type of competitions.
That's one of the biggest differences between Teacher Pathway and Educators Rising is we don't have any sort of conference we belong to or state association, and definitely not the competition element. It is purely in the classroom academic, more modeled after a college level class, which makes sense since kids can get college credit.
Okay. And now, Jackie, back to South Dakota Focus. You were going to say something about that.
Yes, no, I'm echoing what Gina is saying there, that they're really meeting two different needs. Educators Rising does have that after-school element, club element, and yes, they did have a lot of success this year at the state conference with students participating in their competitions for a lesson plan, and it's kind of like a public speaking and preparing oneself to be at the front of the classroom. And then she did go on to the national conference, so that's very exciting and fulfills that kind of club aspect and the ability to go to those conferences. And this is very typical in other states too, where there'll be kind of more than one way to grow one's own. So Educators Rising fulfills that niche, and then Teacher Pathway has the class element. So they pair. It's good to have both types of things in a state because you're reaching different students in different ways. But Teacher Pathway follows the idea of having kind of a dual credit option so students can get credit at a university towards their education degree, which is what's happening with Teacher Pathway. They are in a classroom with an award-winning teacher like Gina Benz, who is inspiring them to see themselves in that type of role in the future. And they're also peeling back the curtain, as I've heard Gina say a number of times, of what it's really like to be a teacher. We know what it's like to be in the desk, but we don't always know what it's like to be at the front of the room. And this class gives the opportunity for students to see things from the other side and start to imagine themselves in that type of role in the future.
And peeling back the curtain, that was going to be my next question for you, Gina, and that is, how do you lose some when you peel back the curtain? Do you lose some students who say, that's not for me?
Absolutely. I had one student tell me just a couple months ago, Teacher Pathway really solidified my decision to become a physician. And she goes, I like the class. I'm learning a lot. I enjoy the kiddos that I work with on Thursday mornings, but also I don't look forward to working with in the classroom like my classmates look forward to it. And so now I'm just more certain that I want to go pre-med when I go to college. And some students too will say, I like kids, but I hate talking in front of a group and preparing the lessons. So we got other options, right? Do you want to go into physical therapy, nursing, so many other things, maybe a lower level like daycare. So all of the career and technical education, CTE programs that our schools offer are so valuable to students, right? It's not just teacher, though that's what we're talking about today. Welding, construction, culinary arts. Our high schools are just full of ways for students to explore different careers, and thank goodness.
Well, isn't that was a line in South Dakota Focus also, isn't it, it's the teacher's job to teach every profession.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. And in all of these career and technical education type classes, we're teaching skills beyond what the career is, right? In the episode you're talking about, South Dakota Focus, my own student was interviewed, and he said, I'm learning skills just about how to be a good human being, how to talk to people, how to have empathy, how to work in difficult situations with people who disagree with me or don't want to go along with me.
So, Jackie, I'm going to throw it back to you and ask, is this enough to grow teaching in South Dakota, or do we need more programs or something new to shake the tree?
Yeah, so the verdict's a little still out on that. Grow Your Own initiatives are fairly new. They have been, Tennessee is kind of the state that people look to for Grow Your Own initiatives, both at the high school level and then programs that can happen at the university. So I think we're coming at it from a lot of different angles, from our own registered apprenticeship program, where we're partnering with the Department of Labor, to these partnerships with high school programs, Educators Rising and Teacher Pathway, doing this kind of conversation to elevate and bring awareness to the profession. I think we could use support on all sides to help with the teacher shortage, to talk about teachers in a new way, because I think the profession really needs our support right now in order for us to start filling the vacancies that currently exist. So I'll be excited to see how things play out in the years to come, but I will add that it was really heartwarming to watch that episode of South Dakota Focus and to see one of Gina's students who started in the Teacher Pathway program as a student at Roosevelt High School, came to the University of South Dakota, majored in elementary education, and now she's gone back to the Sioux Falls School District and is teaching kindergarten this year. It's exactly what the program is designed to do, and I would be lying if I didn't get like a little teared up to just see the kind of the full circle nature of the program, and I'm excited for that to continue to happen with students to come.
And having a Teacher Pathway student in her classroom.
Three of them.
Three of them. Yeah.
She's mentoring the next generation already.
Exactly.
And how does that make you feel?
I'm about to tear up right now. Got a little lump in my throat. I'm so proud. I'm so proud of them for the hard work they've done and the vision and they have and the heart they have for kids and for the future.
And is there a tracking? Do you know how many that you have actually go into the profession?
I am keeping a spreadsheet, that is for sure. Because these students, I tell them, I am your Teacher Pathway teacher this year, but I am rooting for you for the rest of your life. And anytime you have a question, you need some encouragement, whatever, I am on your team. I'm in your corner and here to help you. So yeah, I have my spreadsheet that keeps their contact information. Kara, I don't have it with me right now. I wish I could give you numbers, but I want to be with them I want to mentor them for a long time.
And they're lucky to have you.
I'm lucky to have them.
So Roosevelt isn't the only high school in Sioux Falls that has this. So how is each school have its own adaptation of what you've created? And how do you feel about this going out into other schools and growing and adapting?
So this has been very collaborative. And I would say that's a hallmark of our program, collaboration. And so in 2017, I represented Roosevelt, Sarah Clavon Lincoln, Allie Terhorst Washington, and Trey Erickson, New Tech, because Jefferson wasn't in existence. And now we have a couple teachers at Jefferson who are representing Jefferson. And we built Teacher Pathway together from the ground up. And it is an entirely collaborative effort. We all had our part in it. We all brought our own school cultures into it, and we continue to collaborate. We get together for sure once a year, twice a year, and we talk about what's going well, what's not going well. We make revisions. And so I would say that although not exactly the same, the program at each of Sioux Falls' public high schools is very similar with the same vision and purpose.
Jackie, you just said earlier that how we talk about teachers needs to change. And I have one who is a daughter who is a teacher, and I have one who is at SDSU to become a teacher. And I couldn't agree with you more. But how do we, this program on Teacher Talk is part of a solution to change how we talk about teaching. But how else can we get that message out there?
One thing that I'm grateful for is that I do hear the narrative of people being grateful and thankful and respectful of teachers. I do hear that all the time, particularly because of the role I'm in at the University of South Dakota. I'm interacting with current teachers and future teachers all the time. And so I have the good fortune of hearing all the good news stories. But I do think it's bigger than just education, and it does seem to be where it's landing most heavily, where there's a sense of negativity kind of in the ether these days, where it seems to be more we're more interested in talking about what's going wrong than what's going right. And I see that just kind of anecdotally in a lot of different areas, but it's easy to fixate on education. Even I was watching SNL Saturday Night Live a few weeks ago, and there was a skit where people were having an argument on an airplane about what the best job is. And a teacher stood up and said, I think I'm the best job because I train people to become doctors and lawyers and nurses and engineers. And then everyone booed her and started throwing paper at the teacher. And I was like, yes, this does happen. There's this kind of general, it was a joke, obviously, but I was like, it's tapping into something very real in our society where we kind of think that's okay. So I don't know what it is entirely or what we can do about it, but I do think calling it out when we see it and then pushing the opposite narrative, which is just that there are so many things going well. There are so many people who care about our children. There are such good teachers in this state. It is a really strong profession. And I think the more we can look at what's going well and expand and grow that narrative and feel it inside of our own ways of talking about ourselves as educators, the better it's going to get.
Students don't become teachers unless they have the heart to teach. That's my assessment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my motto on my Teacher Pathway Instagram page is love who you teach, love where you teach, love what you teach. And I feel like that's the right order as well, because the first two have to do with people and community.
And you just have to have the heart. You have to.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to come across as some sort of martyr situation,
Nope.
because the heart is also full of joy every time I teach. So many bright moments, so many fun moments. I can think of one just 2 hours ago when I was at school, and 2 students stopped in during my planning period to sit and chat, just make connections. And these 2 students are from very different cultures than I was raised in. And so, gosh, the world comes to me, and I have such a full life because of my students.
We're going to end there. Gina,
Love it.
Benz, Jackie, Wilber, I want to thank you for being on the program today.
Thanks, Kara.
Thank you so much.
You can find more Teacher Talk conversations and blogs online. They're at sdpb.org/teachertalk.